He becomes a servant.
Yes.
Whose servant does he become?
The servant of all the people that he's come to
Good.
redeem.
So God is a master for me. I don't know about you, but your God is a servant now. Post-incarnation.
God says we must be servants.
I know.
God said,
I know.
I did not come
But I'm not
to-
talking about you. I'm talking about your God who became a servant.
Yeah, God.
Do you realize
God said,
that?
I came to serve.
Good. So your
Yeah,
God
yeah.
became a servant. He's no more the master.
Yep.
Do you agree?
So that's what Jesus said. Jesus says that he came to serve us.
I know.
Yes.
That's what I'm telling you.
But
God.
that doesn't alter his.
It does, because a master is not equal to a servant.
Yahweh, the one true God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, he says, I overthrew some of you as when God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. You were the brand plucked out of the burning, yet you did not return to me, declares Yahweh. So Yahweh is referring to the Yahweh who destroys.
How many Yahwehs do you believe in?
There's three persons.
No, how many Yahwehs do you believe in?
There's three persons.
Look,
Yahweh is the name for
You're
God.
changing the words
Yahweh
now.
is
No,
the name for
answer the
God.
question as I asked you. How many Yahwehs do you believe in?
There's one Yahweh.
Thank you
there's
very much.
one God.
How many Yahwehs did you read with there?
So here it says that Yahweh says God overthrew. So
No, Yahweh says to whom?
Yahweh
Says
is
to whom?
saying to the Israelites,
No, wait. Yahweh says to whom? You said two. You mentioned two Yahwehs in there.
I overthrew some of you as when God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. Well, who overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah?
Yeah.
In Genesis 19.
Is that Yahweh?
Yeah, in Genesis 19 it tells us that Yahweh called down fire and brimstone from Yahweh in heaven.
So how many Yahwehs are there?
So there's one Yahweh because there's one essence.
You just mentioned two Yahwehs.
But there's one essence.
You see, you
There's
changed the
one
topic.
essence,
You
one
changed
God.
the word again, essence.
Change the word.
As soon as I asked how many Yahwehs,
I've
you said,
told
wait.
you.
As soon as I asked you how many Yahwehs, you said one Yahweh.
Anyone-
And then when you read it, you mentioned two Yahwehs.
Anyone
Why
person
do
in
you
the
guys,
Trinity-
why this smokes and mirrors?
What that tells
This is
us-
what
well, this is
the
the Bible.
Pharisees used to do.
You said-
They used
you
to
said-
change the words from its right
You
places.
said go to the Bible and there's the Bible
Yeah.
verse.
Okay.
Where Yahweh says it was God.
No
who
problem.
overthrew
As long as
Sodom.
you believe in one Yahweh, I'm okay with that. But as soon as you say there are two Yahwehs, then you're a polytheist.
So then the Genesis 19:19 says that Yahweh called down fire and sulfur from Yahweh in heaven.
Okay.
Obadiah 1 says Yahweh received a report from Yahweh.
So you guys are
And-
polytheists then if you believe more than
No,
one
but
Yahweh.
why didn't Allah say we was polytheists?
Wait.
Why didn't Allah say that?
Actually,
the
Allah
Jews
does
were
say,
polytheists?
Allah does say that
It says the
people,
Jews were
no, it says the people like the Christians, if you read in chapter 4, Surah An-Nisa 171, it tells you do not say three. It tells you that Jesus is not the Son of God. He is but a messenger of God. Now wait. When by the testimony of Jesus himself, which I just read earlier, John 17:3, yes? According to John 17:3, who is the only true God?
Who is the closest to Muslims out of Jews,
Look, I answered your
polytheists?
question. Can you answer my question?
John.
Who is the only true God according to John 17:3? You can read it.
That's why I brought up that Amos.
No, but
Jesus can
answer the
refer-
question but based on John
Jesus
17:3.
refers to the Father as the only true God, in the same way that
Good.
we know from Amos 4:11 that Yahweh is the only one true God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and yet Yahweh says it was God.
Okay.
who overthrew
If Jesus is saying the only true God is the Father,
Yeah.
do you agree with that?
Yes.
Good. When he says only true God, it excludes everyone else as the only true God.
But why doesn't?
No,
it
wait.
exclude
Let's
everyone? No, I've
stick.
showed you.
Let's stick. Don't try to twist even the English language.
No,
now.
I'm not
Good.
twisting. I'm going straight from the Bible.
Good. So now, if the only true God is the Father, how many persons is the Father?
The Father is the first person of the Trinity.
How many persons is he?
The first person.
How
the
many
one,
persons
the
is
first
he?
person.
How many persons is he?
Yeah.
One or more than
The
one?
one first person.
Good. So he's only one person, the Father. According to Jesus, that is the only true God.
And same
Let
way
me
that Yahweh is
finish.
the only true God.
Let me finish. The term Yahweh is not there in the New Testament, so you can't bring that argument.
The Greek translates it. Kyrios.
The Greek translation of Kyrios is only for God, not Yahweh. Okay? So don't, because you know who's called Kyrios in the Bible? The Satan. Unless you're telling me that Satan is Yahweh now.
Where's Satan? Kyrios?
Satan is called Kyrios in the Bible.
A lord, a lower case.
No, God, G-O-D, God. There's no lowercase in the ancient Greek. So don't bring all this
Satan-
nonsense. We have dealt with all of that before. The question still remains, if Jesus is saying the only true God is one person, the Father.
So we've answered that.
No, you haven't.
Yeah,
You haven't.
I said there's only one.
Yeah, but you have to.
only
Do you
one
realize what that
essence
means?
of God.
If there's only one
I
person,
just showed you where the one person
Yes.
says that the Trinity is God. So
it doesn't
Yahweh,
say. No person says the Trinity is God.
Yahweh says that it was God that overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. Well, we know from Genesis 19 that it was Yahweh.
So if the Father is the only true God, how many persons is the Father? One person, right?
Father is the first person. of the
Yeah,
Trinity,
and
one person. Yeah.
and he's one person.
But any one
Wait,
person.
let me finish at least. Let
That's
me
what
finish
I'm
my
saying,
thought. You keep interrupting.
Go on.
Okay, if the Father is only one person, and he's the first person of the Trinity, and Jesus says only him, he is the only true God. You know this title of only true God? applies to only one of those three persons from the Trinity. And
No.
that is the Father. Yes, that is what he says in John 17:3. That's why you don't want to open that passage.
We've opened it.
No, you open it and tell me why you're saying no.
That's because of Amos.
Amos got nothing to do with John 17:3.
Yes, it has.
No, it hasn't.
It has because
No,
it
you're the
shows
one
you-
making the correction.
No, it shows you. No, because
Okay.
Amos says it. Amos is the prophet.
Which
I'm
is the
not a
words of
prophet.
Jesus? John
I'm not a
17:3 or
prophet.
Amos?
Amos is the prophet.
No. Which are the words of Jesus? John 17:3 or Amos? The
John
words
7
of Jesus.
17:3.
Good.
Yeah.
So you're ignoring Jesus' words because
No,
sits
no.
well with you to ignore Jesus' teaching.
no. All
Yes,
Jesus'
yes.
words are
That's
true.
why. Okay, so you agree that the only true God is the Father, one person.
As Jesus was talking, he said the only true God is the Father.
Thank
And
you.
What I've shown you is that the only true God says that God can speak of the Trinity as God. So Jesus is talking to the Father as the Trinity.
Is one person equal to three persons?
One person is one person.
Thank you. If Jesus is telling you only one person is God, why are you saying three?
He's using the Father as the Trinity.
He never said Trinity.
No, he didn't
Stop
say Trinity, but we know
Stop
from the
interjecting your words into the Bible.
We know from the Old Testament, it's the Bible words, not my words, it's the Bible prophets.
You know in John 3:16, what does Jesus say?
3:16.
This is one of the most important passages in the
God
Bible.
so loved, yeah, because you're jumping around. Because I want to get.
Actually,
back,
you're the one jumping to Amos
Yeah, I want to get
because he
back
doesn't
to the
agree with
question
you.
Because I've
Yeah.
noticed you're quite good at sort of dancing around.
No. In fact, I
started around
stopped you
death.
every time you kept dancing
We started
around
around
the
death,
passage.
and,
Yeah.
and now somehow you're going on to all these.
We
other
have to because
passages.
God is the ultimate truth we want to know.
So we're going to get back to that because
Okay.
I'm challenging what you believe about death, that Allah created.
No, before you go that, answer
that's
the
what
question.
we
Wait.
started with.
John 3:16 says what?
John says that God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whoever believes in him
Okay.
shall
What does
perish
only
but have
son mean in
eternal
that context? Does it mean he has other sons?
life. The only son is like you were talking to my friend there about Isaac and Ishmael.
No. Does
Who
only
was-
son mean other sons or not?
Only son means that is the old Hebrew word is the bereshit, the one who carries the title. That's why Isaac is described as the only son, although we know biologically.
How many sons are
Ishmael.
only son mean?
It means the bereshit.
No, I know, but in John 3:16, does it mean whom is it referring to in John 3:16?
To Jesus, yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Jesus is whose son, according to you?
Son of God.
Good. Does God have more than one son?
No.
Thank you. So how many sons is it?
So Jesus, one son. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah,
So
the
in
son.
John 3:16, it's referring to only one son. No dancing around now, right?
In John 3,
Which you just read.
16, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's only one son, and that is Jesus.
Trying to work out where you're going. Yeah.
I think it's very
that's
simple
right.
logic.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, you don't need
Yeah,
a,
there's one
degree,
son.
a PhD
Yeah.
for this. So if it's only one son, and the term only there is exclusive, isn't it?
Yes.
That means every other son, even though there are more than one sons of God in the Bible, it excludes everyone except Jesus.
Yes.
Am I right so far?
Yeah.
Good. Now when John 17:3, Jesus says, He alone, this is eternal life, that they may know you, the only true God. Okay?
Yes.
You here is referring to whom? You, the only
It's
true God.
referring to the Father, yeah.
Father, very good.
Yeah.
Father is one person?
Yes.
Good, not three persons.
But it can be
Don't give me
used-
buts, just answer the question.
It can be
No,
Amos.
don't confuse it. If
That's
the
worship
Father,
from the
look, it's
Bible.
very simple. The Father is only one person. Okay? Let's agree with that because you cannot escape from this. Just like you say, Jesus is the only Son.
God is only one.
No, I know you like the term God. That's why you use the term Father.
Is God
Is
one?
Father one person or not?
Is God one or not?
For me, it's one, but
Well,
for
of
you, it's
course.
3 in 1.
Yeah, and Amos
That's what I'm
says-
trying to
and
understand from
Amos
you.
says- so Amos
No,
is
don't
explaining
jump.
How God
You see, now
refers
you're
to God
dancing to
as
Amos
God.
again. John
It's his
3:16.
explanation of the word.
John 3:16. The only true God. If it's only one true God, and that is the Father, one person, why you keep saying 3 persons? Why do you go against
God
Jesus'
is the
testimony?
Father, it can refer to the Trinity.
No Trinity mentioned in the entire Bible.
No, not by name, but that's
Even
what the
by
Bible tells
concept.
us.
Even by
So now
concept.
can we go back to your death about...
Oh, so now you have lost the Trinity.
no,
Let's go to
I've
the death.
answered it.
No problem. No,
It's
you
going
haven't.
round in circles.
Okay, we'll let the people judge
Yeah.
who is right. Because I'm
Amos-
saying, according to John 7:3, let me summarize that. According to John 7:3, the only true God is the Father, one person. He's saying God is 3 persons. I'm not saying that. Nowhere in the entire Bible does it say God is 3 persons. This is from the 4th century, from the church doctrine, not from Jesus or from any prophet in the Bible. Good.
And I just sum up that what you said was what you're implying is that Jesus cannot refer to God as being the Trinity, whereas Amos tells us quite clearly. Amos tells us quite clearly that God says that that Yahweh says it was God who overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah, yet the people did not return.
That's got nothing to do with John 17:3. You see how we evaded John 17:3?
No.
Because it goes against the Trinity. I call this the kryptonite of the Trinitarians. That's the reason they will make every effort to evade it, and they will go to something completely irrelevant, if you ask me. The Father is one person, not three persons. If Jesus says the only true God is the Father, has this title of the only true God has been given to anyone other than the Father? The only true God.
No.
Good.
Who's the only,
what does that mean?
Hang on. Who's the only true Son?
Who's the only true Son? According to you or me? My God doesn't need a son.
According to the Bible, who's the only true Son?
According to the Bible, is Jesus.
So
I'm not disputing that.
So we're saying that Jesus is the only true Son of God.
Yes, but he's not the only true God.
But it doesn't say. It says he's the only Father.
Who is the only Father?
The Father is the
yes.
true God. So the Son is the true God.
In fact, you agree that the title of only true God is not given to the Son, but only to the Father. So we are in agreement.
No, the title true God.
Only true God is only given to the Father, not the Son.
Those words, but that's where Amos tells us.
But that is the most important title, the only true God. How many only true gods do you believe in?
There's only one true God.
And who is that?
God.
According to Jesus, who is that?
God.
Which God?
The Trinity.
Where does it say that in the Bible?
When we have passages like Genesis where it says Yahweh called down fire from Yahweh in heaven, Yahweh received a report from Yahweh.
So wait. Yahweh received fire from the Yahweh in the heaven.
Yep.
How many Yahwehs are there?
That's it. There's only one God.
No, how many Yahwehs?
So the Bible refers
how many
to
Yahwehs?
two.
Answer the question.
So the Bible
Why
says,
are you evading it? How many Yahwehs? The Yahweh received fire from the Yahweh in heaven. How many Yahwehs are there?
Yahweh is the name for God.
How many Yahwehs are there? In the passage you just quoted. No, you see, you keep switching. Have you noticed this? When I use the term Yahweh, he switches to God. When I say Father, he switches to Yahweh. This is what he does. This is exactly what the Pharisees did.
Yahweh is the name for God.
It's not the name of God.
It is.
Why did Jesus never use it in the New Testament?
Because we got it from Greek.
So you're saying you didn't get it from Jesus?
Yeah, we got it from Jesus through the translation.
So why did Jesus never use it? No, wait. Who gave them the right to remove God's name?
Their language that they spoke in.
Who gave them the right? The name Abraham is there. The name Jesus is there. The name Moses is there. But they removed God's name. Who gave them the right?
Because the Jews never put God's name in because they always
say... It is
say,
6,000 times in the Old Testament. What do you mean?
Yeah, but the Jews are not allowed to pronounce that.
I didn't ask you about pronouncing. I asked you about a written word.
Sorry?
Why did no one write the name of God in the New Testament?
Because it was the tradition that you should not take God's
Whose
name
tradition?
in vain. The Jews.
No. The Jews wrote it. Look, I don't know. Either you have a problem understanding a simple language I'm using. The term Yahweh, is it written in the Old Testament?
For the Christian in Septuagint, it was, yes, in the Greek.
No, in the Hebrew as well. The term Yahweh is Hebrew, not Greek.
In the Hebrew?
Yes.
I don't know about the Hebrew.
The Hebrew. Both the term Hebrew, the Hebrew by Old Testament, does have the term Yahweh mentioned nearly 7,000 times. How many times?
Is that actual Yahweh, or is it?
It is Yahweh, not a substitution.
Tetragrammaton?
It's not a substitution. Yahweh is the Tetragrammaton.
Yeah, but
don't try to confuse me.
That's only the letters. That's not the full name.
Dude, that is what the Yahweh is a Tetragrammaton.
Yes.
Okay.
But that's only the full.
I know, but is it there in the Old Testament?
The Tetragrammaton is, yes.
Good. Is the Tetragrammaton in the New Testament?
In the sense of ego-emity, which is
ego-emy is not Yahweh.
That's the way the Greeks
ego-emy is not Yahweh.
That's the way.
It's not Yahweh.
Yes,
stop doing that.
It's the way.
No, there's no one from the Hebrew-speaking world will tell you that ego-emy, which is a Greek terminology, is Yahweh. But anyway, I think look, we have agreed on one thing that.
So we don't want to go to Islam concept of death.
No, we did already. We did. By the way.
Okay.
If any one of you interrupts, no Muslims are interrupting here. If any of these Christians interrupt, I'm going to stop the discussion. So they can't say I ran away. Okay, that's a condition. Yeah, that's a condition. Oh yeah, we're terrified of you. How nice. Okay? If they interrupt, I stop the conversation. So it's up to you to carry on or stop here. Shall we stop here? Or shall we go somewhere else? I'm saying the Christians will interrupt, the Muslims will not.
But they're standing there quietly. They're behind me, you can't even see them.
Yeah, until now.
I didn't even know they were there until you told me.
That's why I said, until they interrupt, I'll continue.
Right, okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
as soon as they interrupt, sorry, until they don't interrupt, I'll continue.
Yeah.
As soon as they interrupt, then we stop. And we can go somewhere else, no problem. Okay, in fact, let's go somewhere else.
So,
Just one sec. Brother, come here. We are going another place. No, not finished. Yeah. Thank you very much. Jazakallah. Let's go somewhere quieter. By the way, I didn't catch your name.
Vince.
Vince, nice meeting you, Vince.
Yes, thank you.
Sorry, it does get a bit passionate, so I don't mean to like...
Well, no, I mean, that's fine. If
I
we
don't
don't
mean-
have passion in our religion,
Yeah.
if we don't, then we're probably not worth it.
That's true, yeah. So my raising my voice is not out of disrespect, it's just passion.
Well, that's why I don't take part in a lot of these big group
I
ones.
understand.
I understand what you mean about others there, because
Yeah.
when you were talking to that chap, I was desperate to join in,
Yeah.
but out of respect, you're having a conversation with him. He's answering for himself, so I've got to allow him to answer. So I try to avoid
That's good.
interrupting,
Yeah.
jumping in.
No problem.
But there was lots of things, and one of the things was about the
You're coming next.
the concept.
It's okay.
The concept.
As
of,
long as they don't interrupt, we don't mind. Yeah.
the
Okay, go on.
concept of death.
Yeah.
As you correctly said, it's a separation. You said soul and body.
Separation of the soul from the body.
Spirit and body.
Yeah.
So in the hypostatic union, because Jesus is there in the spirit, he can experience the death in the spirit. It's the flesh that dies. So God doesn't die in the way we a nihilistic understanding of death would be.
God doesn't die in any concept. In any context.
He can experience death in the way your spirit can experience death, in the way my spirit experiences it. Our flesh goes to the grave and rots.
Our spirit don't cease to exist. Our spirits don't cease to exist. So let's say if your soul separates from your body, would you consider that to be death?
If my soul is separated from the body, that's death.
Okay.
Yeah.
So by that definition of death, would you become immortal or mortal?
It depends what God's got in store for me.
I'm asking about you.
So it depends
Based
what
on that
God's got-
definition, okay, how do you define immortal?
in the absence of death. With the absence of
Not
death.
subject to death.
Yeah.
Is that a better definition?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So are you subject to death?
My flesh is, yes. My flesh, and then
No,
then
you,
my
no,
spirit-
you as a person.
Yeah, I am spirit.
I'm not
and
asking.
flesh.
Look, once again, I'm not asking about the who. Sorry, I'm not asking about the what, which is your nature, your spirit, your flesh, and all that. My question is not about the what; it's about the who. Do you understand the difference?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the what are your natures, like spirit, body, so on, soul,
Yeah,
all
yeah,
this.
yeah.
All this is your nature. I'm asking about you as a person, the who.
The who.
Yes. So for
So
example,
in that sense-
if someone from our family dies, they don't say his flesh died, do they? They say that person with that name died. Do you understand? And that is the who. So now my question is, when you die, who dies?
So in that theological sense, that, because you're saying it's about who,
It's about the
and
who,
it's
yeah.
about I am made of spirit and flesh, then you
Yeah.
would say no one died because I'm standing on the other side of death, waiting for judgment, just like you.
Yeah.
So we have both transcended death.
Guys, no need to argue. It's unnecessary.
So we have both transcended death, but only in our spirit. And you're saying you're not accepting that division. But
I'm
I
saying based on the definition which you gave of death, you are mortal, and I am mortal.
say flesh is mortal, yeah.
We are mortal. We
Our
humans
spirit-
are mortal. The only one who is immortal is who?
God. So
No,
when-
wait. That's a very good answer, actually. If the only one who is immortal is God,
until He gives us all
wait
immortality.
a minute. If the only one, there's no unless. We are not talking, immortal means in all respect. I'm not talking about just the future. I'm talking about since existence. We are mortal since
So
we
I
were
won't
created.
agree. I won't agree with that
Okay,
definition.
were you ever immortal?
So the way I would understand immortality is you have to have a life first in order to, you have to have an existence first.
No, that's called eternal. You're mixing up the
Well,
terminology.
that's the other way I would go. I would
No,
say
the
that's
term immortal
eternity.
only means not subject to that.
Eternity, I would say, is
The
one that
term
works both
immortal
ways.
only means not
I think
subject to
it's
that.
just a slight difference of agreement on.
No, I think
the
you're mixing up
word.
eternal and immortal.
Eternal for me is the one that goes both ways.
Yes.
Immortal means you have to have a life to start and then become immortal.
Yeah, after
So
your
we are created beings. We can become immortal when God gives us the immortality.
Okay, so when in 1 Timothy when it says the only immortal is God, the only one who's immortal is God. How would you define the immortal in that context? 1
have a
Timothy
look.
6:16. He alone is immortal. How would you define the term immortal in that context? Any different to your immortal, which you said only future immortality?
1 Timothy, what one?
1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 16.
So, which is blessed. which he will display at the proper time. He who is blessed and only sovereign, the King of kings and Lord of lords, who alone has immortality, who dwells in unapproachable light, who no one has ever seen or can see. To him be honour and eternal dominion.
Yeah. So when he says he only has immortality, in that context, how would you define the term immortal? He only means only he has immortality. How would you define immortal in that context?
Hang on, let me just...
Yeah, you can look up all versions of the Bible. They all say the same thing. No problem. You can go to Bible Hub for that, to compare, parallel comparison. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse number 16.
6:16.
Yeah. 1 Timothy 6, 16.
Immortality. So this is deathlessness, immortality from the Greek.
He alone has immortality. What does that mean?
Yeah, so he has his deathlessness without death.
Good.
So
now wait, when he says he alone, that means exclusive once again, yeah? Exclusive. He alone means it excludes everybody else.
In the context in which the writers are writing to the people, they're telling them that in your state, you don't have. The only one who has immortality at the moment.
In that verse which you just read, who is the only one who is immortal?
God, until the resurrection.
Good.
When God
so God the Father is the only one who's immortal, yeah? God the Father.
Until Judgment Day, yeah.
I'm not talking about the Judgment Day. You see, this is a problem. When the Bible is not talking about the Judgment Day, you're bringing in unnecessary details which we didn't ask you for.
You are coming to a certain point that I'm trying to head off by telling you that we will all become immortal when God closes us with
which is not the point I'm making. I'm talking about this verse.
So what's the problem with
that? The problem here is that this verse is talking about one entity who alone is immortal. Who is that entity?
That's God. When
Good, so it's God the Father, yeah? God the Father.
Yeah.
God the Father is
the essence of
God. No. God the Father is the only one who's immortal.
Yeah, as Timothy is talking to the people.
Hold on,
in their
it doesn't
flesh,
matter.
In their sin.
So it's only God the Father? Do we agree so far?
Well, I don't like your term, only God the Father.
It says there, only God.
Yeah, but you're
so if it says only God is immortal.
Only God.
Yes. Yeah. According to you, Jesus died, right? So it can't be Jesus.
Jesus died in the flesh, not the spirit.
Do you die in the flesh?
I die in the flesh.
Good, so you're also immortal then, according to your definition.
Because we will go to judgment.
I'm not going to judgment. Remember I said about the who? You keep going to the judgment. When I'm not asking about the judgment, I'm talking about this particular passage. Just like the term, he alone is immortal, just like the term, the only son, the only begotten son is Jesus, just like the only true God is the Father. In all of this, there is one common term, which is only. When you say only, so if I said the only person who has a bag is, sorry, I forgot your name. Vince. Is Vince. Does that mean anybody else has a bag?
I gave you an example of that in the Jewish Bereshit, where Isaac is the only son of Abraham, when we know Ishmael was already his son, and yet the Bible says he's his only son.
In the Bible, it never says Isaac is the only son. It never says that. Show me. Show me where it says he's the only son.
Your only son Isaac, it says. Your only son Isaac.
No. Show me where it says Abraham Isaac was the only son of Abraham. Because it doesn't say that. If Jesus is saying, if the Bible is saying that he alone is immortal, means only God is immortal, God the Father. Because clearly, according to you, Jesus died on the cross. So he can't be immortal. Okay, it's a very clear message. I don't know why we are complicating it, because I think the reason you want to complicate it, because that's the only way to make sense of Jesus being God. Otherwise, he's disqualified as God.
Genesis 22:2. He said, "Take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains of which I will tell you." So Isaac is his only son, but now, we know biologically he also had Ishmael.
So how come then God made a mistake?
No, because there's a title called the Bereshit. It's a title of inheritance.
What does Bereshit mean?
This means that in the beginning, so it comes from the beginning of the Bible.
No, wait. So is it right that Abraham had only Isaac as the son?
In terms of the legal definition of who gets the double portion of inheritance, who is the one who goes forward with a name.
Okay, so now you have introduced not only inconsistency by...
No, it's not. There's nothing inconsistent.
You answer, let me answer. The inconsistency is that Abraham did not have only Isaac as the only son. Because before Isaac, Ishmael was there. And it very clearly says Hagar was his wife in the Bible. If Hagar was the wife of Abraham and Ishmael is the first son of Abraham, clearly Abraham is also his son. So if the Bible says that he's your only son, Isaac, then it's incorrect. Second thing
No.
you mentioned the inheritance. Who gets the inheritance according to the Mosaic Law?
Let's go back to the understanding.
Sorry, according to the Jewish law.
It's the son who's given the
but we are talking
blessing.
about, no,
This is how Isaac still
who's given
Esau sells his blessing to
is Bereshit from the Mosaic Law?
yes.
Good.
Yeah,
Did
in the beginning.
wait, how does it apply to Abraham? Because Moses didn't come out until much later.
It comes from the start of the Bible, Genesis.
No. How does it apply to Abraham? That was the question. Was the Torah revealed in the time of Abraham and Isaac?
No, but God
Good. So it doesn't apply to him. So what you're saying is complete and utter false. That the Bereshit doesn't apply to him. And Jesus and the Bible. Sorry about Ishmael. Did God not say that he'll become a great nation?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
God will bless him.
Yeah.
When did Ishmael become a great nation?
But he didn't get the blessing of God as the firstborn.
You know, we look.
The blessing of the firstborn
As a Muslim, for me,
is Isaac.
No. For me, as a Muslim, my yardstick is not the Old Testament or the New Testament. The reason I'm quoting the Old and New Testament is for you to realize that Jesus cannot be God because he died according to your definition of death. He experiences death. God the Father never experiences death. So when he says in 1 Timothy 6:16, he alone is immortal, he's referring to only God the Father, who never, ever experiences death in any context.
He does as the second person of the Trinity because
which is not the Father.
The hypostasis exists.
Which is not the Father, I agree. So the only one who experiences death is the second person, hence he's not immortal.
Well, of course it is, because the Spirit is immortal, because the Spirit carries on living.
Like I said, you're going once again to judgment.
So that's
I'm
why
not
I
asking.
wanted to get you
My question
onto
is 1 Timothy 6:16. By the way, when he says in 1 Timothy 16 that God alone is immortal, does it refer to the judgment day?
It doesn't mention the judgment day.
No. Does it refer the context in anywhere? Does it refer to the judgment day?
Timothy is writing to sinners.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whom he's writing to.
You have to get the context of
I'm asking you for the context. In the context of 1 Timothy.
In the context, he's writing to sinners who need to be called to correct way. And what he's telling those sinners is that
you're spinning once again.
No, I'm not.
I don't want you to spin. My question is when he says he alone means God alone is immortal.
At that moment, when he's preaching to people, he's
does
saying,
it refer to the judgment day?
He's saying to them, you are destined for hell. God alone is immortal. That's why we must be like him. That's why we must
Where does it say you're destined for hell? You make up things. No, don't give me throughout the whole Bible. You see how you spin? When I'm giving you a specific reference, 1 Timothy 6:16, you're going to the whole Bible. No, this is not how context. Wait. If you want context, you read the passage I quoted and you give the context from there, not the whole Bible. In the whole Bible, the only one who is immortal exclusively is God the Father. Because according to you, death means separation of the soul from the body, which means Jesus experienced death according to your own doctrines. I'm saying the Father is the only one who never experiences death in any context. Whether it's Judgment Day, whether it's before Judgment Day. Yes? Did Jesus experience? We don't believe he's God anyway.
Right, well, we do. So.
In fact, he's excluded from most of the Bible.
The Bible, the context of Bible is salvation history. So it goes right from Genesis 3:15, where
there's no Trinity in any of the Bible.
Where the seed of the woman will crush the head of the snake, and then it goes on.
We discussed that earlier.
Yeah, so it goes for all that into the New Testament. So to get the context of the Bible, you have to take it in salvation.
So why did no one in the Bible worship?
God is always calling us back to repentance, away from
yes,
sin.
God is, but not the Trinity.
That's what Timothy
not
is
the
doing
Trinity.
Now.
That's what I'm saying.
He's calling people away from their sins, repenting.
Before the judgment day, who is the only immortal?
Until we are judged, God is immortal.
No. Yeah. Can you answer who is the immortal from the Trinity before the judgment day?
The Trinity is God.
I know.
You can't separate the Trinity from God. No,
because who died on the cross?
Jesus.
Why did you separate from the Trinity?
Sorry?
Why did you separate the Trinity?
No, that's Jesus in the flesh and in a hypostatic union with
exactly.
the Spirit.
When I'm asking you specifically from the three who died on the cross, you said immediately Jesus.
Jesus in the flesh.
Did you separate the
union.
Did you separate the Trinity now by doing that?
No, the Trinity is still one.
So who died on the cross then?
Jesus.
Thank you. Once again you separated it.
No.
When I ask you before the judgment day, now watch this. Watch how we'll include all three and he'll never exclude one. Before the day of judgment, who is the only immortal?
God.
Which God?
God, the one God.
See, he never separated. Did you notice that?
The one God.
Have you seen how this is exactly what the Pharisees used to do. They never used to be sincere. They used to twist the words And that's why Jesus said, yes, like whatever they teach, you take that, don't do what they do. Why?
Right, so
Why? Wait. Now,
you're doing a lot of talking, and I keep
okay, go
wanting
on.
to
Go on. How will you respond to that?
Yeah.
Once again, the question is,
So
who is the only one who is the only immortal before the judgment day? And that is only the Father.
So-
because according to him, in fact, you already answered the question because he said Jesus died on the cross. Anyone who dies cannot be immortal. Okay? And that's the reason I specifically asked before the judgment day, because he kept doing that. He kept spinning to the judgment day.
I can't remember the verse now, but it says that we will be clothed with immortality
On the judgment day.
Yes.
My question wasn't judgment day. So I've already nipped that in the bud. No. The reason I nipped that in the bud for you, because you kept doing that. You kept going to the judgment day. My question now is very specific. Before the judgment day, who is the only immortal?
So before we judge, nobody's got immortality except God, because we don't know if we're condemned to
does the Son?
one God.
Okay, does the Son have immortality?
Hold on, we don't know if we're condemned to the fires of hell or if we're going to live in paradise forever with God. We don't know that at this stage.
Good. So now answer the question.
So, as Timothy is saying, at this moment in time, you don't know if you're going
That's got nothing to do with definition of immortal.
So the only one who's immortality at the moment is immortal at the moment is God, and that's who we must follow. That's what Timothy is calling people.
Let me rephrase that question now. The term immortal means what? Before the judgment day. What does it mean?
Immortal means without death. We've just had this
Good.
conversation.
Means never experiencing death. Does God experience death?
When we spoke earlier, we spoke about what does death mean.
Yes,
So
separation of the soul from the body.
separation. So-
Did Jesus experience that?
Yes.
Good.
In the hypostatic
Good.
union.
Did the Father experience that? Did the Father? Okay. So
Father
based
was
on this definition which you just gave of death and immortality, who is the only immortal before the judgment day?
Jesus was
He
immortal.
will never answer this.
Yes, Jesus was immortal because he will not die. He will raise his body back up. Jesus says, "I lay down my life so that I will take it up."
So you're
again."
saying Jesus was immortal all the time?
Yes, in the spirit. Yes, as the second person.
No. Why are you saying spirit? In the body, was he immortal?
Because he took flesh to himself.
In the body, was he immortal?
In the body, not immortal at the moment until the resurrection.
Thank you. I rest my case. Finally, he said it. Because you see, in the flesh, which means all of creation, including Jesus, the only one who's not mortal is God the Father, because he's always immortal.
Jesus.
Because he never puts on flesh. The one who puts on flesh dies. Exactly. That's what I'm telling you. So it disqualifies him clearly as God, because they are not co-equal. One is immortal all the time. That is God the Father, the God of Jesus.
Is always immortal in the spirit.
So are you. So are you.
No, until God judges me.
No.
Until God judges me. God might condemn me.
So let me ask you something.
Hell.
If God judges you to be going to paradise, to go to heaven, then would you be same as Jesus? All the time immortal?
So we all share in the inheritance.
So you will be immortal all the time?
Yeah, we share in the
So you will be no different to Jesus?
We share in terms of immortality.
Okay, that means you're not equal to the Father, but equal to Jesus.
No, I'm equal to everyone who's got immortality. So all the other humans who have been granted.
Are you equal to God the Father then? Who never experiences death?
In terms of immortality, if
in terms of
God has made me immortal.
Based on the definition you gave of immortality. You said anyone who experiences death is mortal. Am I right? Not immortal, is mortal.
The flesh is mortal.
Yes.
So
flesh is mortal. Good. So the Father doesn't have flesh.
No, the Father didn't take flesh to himself.
Thank you very much. So you cannot be equal to the Father. Ever.
In my spirit, but when I get the resurrection.
Even in spirit, you will get a new body, remember?
Yeah.
The Father will not get a new body. The Father will not get a new body, so you can't be equal.
There will still be the essence of me.
No matter how you spin it, you will always have a body.
Well, it's not spinning it. How do you see yourself then?
Wait. Will you ever?
Will he be judging
Oh my God.
you?
The Father.
Will he be judging a new
I'm saying the
person?
Father will never have a body.
You've danced a lot. Let me get a little bit in it.
Actually, I don't want to call you out so many times.
If Allah judges you, is it you or is it some new creation He's made in heaven?
Me.
Is it you? Right,
Yes.
So you. So you're going to be their judge to be judged to either good
And
enough.
I will get a new body.
Yeah,
will you get a new body?
Yes, we
Good.
get a resurrected.
Does the
glorified
Father
body.
have a body?
No.
Good. So he
Father's
never
spirit.
dies because he doesn't have a body. You die because you have a body. Jesus dies because Jesus has a body. I die because I have a body. Now that we are clear, who has a body will always be mortal on the earth, including Jesus Christ. Do you agree?
In the flesh. In the flesh.
Who has a body means what?
In the flesh.
I've already made that connection in the body. Okay?
No, you're missing the whole.
No, I said in the body. So
in
Jesus.
Philippians 2:6 it says.
Let's read that.
Jesus. Okay.
Let's read Philippians 2, because that is a knockout verse from his Bible, which they don't realize yet. Which version do you read? Can you read from the
King James or
New American. Read from the New American.
I haven't got that on here.
Should be there.
Well,
The reason I'm saying is that because the New American normally has a literal translation.
I've got Young's literal translation on there.
No, that's fine. Read
right,
from the NASB.
So, have this mind among yourselves, which is yours in Christ Jesus, who though he was in the form of God, he did not account equality with God a thing to be grasped, but emptied himself by taking the form of a servant, being born in the likeness of men.
Okay, what do you understand from that?
So he took flesh to himself. So it wasn't a man walking around that he went and inherited. This is God taking flesh. He created the flesh.
So it's a change in nature from no body to body.
So
it's a change in nature, yeah?
No change in nature.
How is not a change in nature? Did he have a body before?
No, he's taken flesh to himself.
No, flesh is nature, right?
No, he's still God.
Your human nature is flesh, right? Your human nature.
Yes, but
did Jesus have a human nature before incarnation?
No.
So it's a change in nature.
No, it does not change.
You can deny as much as you want.
Let's
move on.
There.
No,
he's still the spirit.
Essence.
He's still the spirit.
When
he takes the flesh.
The essence is not just the spirit. The essence includes all of you, all of your nature, not just the spirit. That's why they call it a hypostatic union of two natures, spirit and human. Are you with me?
Yes.
Good. So, did he have two natures before incarnation or one nature?
One nature.
And after incarnation?
He took on the form of a servant.
No, after incarnation, did he have one nature or two natures?
So it takes the body gets resurrected.
Two natures or one nature?
It's a hypostatic union.
Which is one nature or two natures? Why are you so difficult? Why are you so difficult?
Well, because
it's two natures.
Trying to understand where
the term hypostatic union of what? Two natures or one nature? You see why it's so difficult? Because he realized and the penny has dropped. No. Before incarnation, Jesus has only one nature, which is divine.
Jesus, the nature is the essence of a being, the essence of a person. That
I agree.
Stays the same.
I agree.
God never changes.
No.
God can take,
he did change.
take flesh to himself. That doesn't change the nature of God.
Okay.
God didn't become weaker. The flesh was brought to God.
Is your essence of a human being?
My essence, yes.
Good.
Yes.
Did Jesus have a human essence?
Yes.
Very good.
Human nature.
Very good.
Yeah.
If he had a human essence, does he also have a divine essence?
Yes.
Good. How many essences are that?
So that's hypostatic union.
No, how many essence?
That's hypostatic union between the essence of God
Vince,
and the essence
just answer the question. How many essence?
Nature.
How many essence?
So he brings the human nature.
How many essence?
That's two, yeah.
Thank you. Finally, see how difficult this guy is? Two natures. One is divine, one is human. Now the question is this. If he has two natures, post-incarnation, then pre-incarnation, how many natures did he have? Watch now. Watch how we'll spin.
Give me the question again, because you're jumping around the question.
No, I'm not. It's a very clear question. I think everybody here understood, except you. Once again, before incarnation.
So before incarnation.
How many natures did Jesus have?
Essence, yes.
Natures. How many natures did he have?
By the way,
nature. Yeah, exactly. So how many did he have?
One.
Which is what? Divine or human?
The divine God.
He had only divine nature.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
So now you realize that before incarnation, he had one nature and one essence, which is divine only. After incarnation, he has two natures, divine and human, which is a change in nature.
The essence of God stays the same.
Which is what?
God takes to himself that the human form becomes incarnate, then dies, and the body is resurrected, glorified.
Okay, so you're telling me there was no change.
God is still God.
Look. I think you're misunderstanding deliberately or not.
No, not deliberately.
Did you understand from the conversation so far whether Jesus has one nature or two natures after incarnation? Did you understand that?
After incarnation, there are two natures.
Good.
Yes.
So Jesus' overall nature includes two natures, divine and human, after incarnation.
Jesus has the nature of God and takes to himself the second nature of the flesh.
Good. So now the overall of Christ is one or two?
So there's two, because it's the hypostatic union.
Thank you. Now bear that in mind, yeah? Hold to something, I don't know. So you remember, you said two natures post-incarnation. Now the question is about before he became a man, pre-incarnation. Did he have a human nature pre-incarnation?
The incarnation hadn't been born yet, so no.
So he did not have a human nature?
It's a tricky philosophical question, because
no, it's a simple English question. What philosophical?
God says
There's nothing philosophical You understand, if you understand the difference between 1 and 2,
There's-
1 and 2, a primary student will understand
Well,
it.
because
A kid in a primary school will understand this.
There's
The
things
difference
in the
between
Bible
1 and 2 is very clear,
There's
yeah?
things in the Bible called theophanies, which is where God appears in
No
the
need to
physical.
put theophanies. There's got nothing to do with
Right,
theophany.
okay, no,
How many
that's what I'm
natures?
saying.
All I'm asking is how many natures pre-incarnation?
So the incarnate form was not born yet. So
How many
there's one
natures?
nature. Yeah.
Thank you. Finally, did you remember the 2? You kept it in your mind, right?
Yes. So God's
Good.
taken
Now
a
the question
nature
is this.
himself.
This is a primary school question,
Yeah.
and I don't mean to belittle you. Is 2 natures equal to 1 nature?
Why would it be?
So it's not.
No. So God took the form of the man. God took the man to the flesh to
No
himself.
need to philosophize. It's a simple.
It's
Remember?
not
Is that-
philosophy. It's Bible.
No, no.
I told you two Philippians. I just read it for you.
So wait.
2:6.
The question is what? What was my question?
Is there two natures? So you're trying to imply that there's a change.
You didn't
in
even remember
God.
the question. That's how you forget so soon. Let me remind you again.
So let me get back to my.
No,
question
wait.
to you, because-
You need to answer this question before you skip.
All right, you answer
It's
this
two-
question. I'll answer this question,
Good.
and then we get on to
Without
Islam.
So no, don't dance around it. Just answer the question. Is 2 natures equal to 1 nature?
2 is not equal to 1.
Good. So 2 natures is not equal to 1 nature. Are we in
Right.
agreement? Are we in
That's it,
agreement?
yeah.
Good. So pre-incarnation, it was only 1 nature.
There was one
Post-incarnation is 2 natures.
So-
Hence, it is a change in nature. Now you can answer.
No. So post-incarnation, the nature of God stays the same. It's still God. And God has taken flesh to himself and resurrected that body in a hypostatic union. So the original nature...
What do you mean the nature of God remains the same?
You're comparing 2 different things. You're saying that God has now changed. No, God stays the same throughout. Never changes. The question I wanted to ask you about the, and I've forgotten it now, about the Islamic version of death is
No. Wait. You said God's
You said
nature.
last question and I answered it.
No, but your answer was against what you said earlier. You said pre-incarnation, 1 nature, post-incarnation, 2 natures.
But two
Which means-
natures existed. That
I know.
doesn't mean the first nature ever changed.
I didn't say that. Did I say that?
So what
In
were
fact,
you saying
I
then?
repeatedly said divine nature and human nature post-incarnation.
Yeah, so the first...
And we agreed that essence, the overall nature of Jesus Christ post-incarnation is 2 natures. Overall nature. His essence is now not just divine, but also human.
This is 2 natures now because we have
It
the
is.
resurrected, glorified
That's why
body.
it's called hypostatic union.
Yeah.
Okay?
So in Islam, I wanted to get back to your understanding.
Okay.
of
So
death
now we know it's a
and
change
what-
in nature, yeah?
No.
From only
No.
divine to divine and human.
The nature of God stays exactly the same.
No, it was.
never changes.
So what was added?
God takes flesh to himself.
Thank you.
That's what it says in
Good.
Philippians 2:6.
Oh yeah, you
God
remind me
took
of Philippians.
flesh.
That's good actually. In Philippians, you read.
Well,
No, in
We're
Philippians.
going to another one of yours.
No, but this is something that you just read. In Philippians, when he says he emptied himself,
Emptied himself, yeah.
what did he empty himself of?
Of his divine abilities. So when he's inheriting the flesh, he's not on the earth doing the sort of things that could never affect God.
So he emptied his divinity.
He's growing.
Wait, did he
he's
empty his
learning.
divinity?
He put his divinity to one side.
No. When
So
you
he
say put,
emptied himself.
you know when you empty something. If
Yeah,
I empty this
yeah.
water, right now there's
Yeah.
water in there.
So-
If I empty it, what will remain in the
In
water?
the flesh, he emptied all divinity within the flesh.
Wait,
Because he's taken
wait.
that-
He didn't have flesh before. How can he empty from the flesh?
Because he's taking something to him.
No. So you agree that he's taking on another nature.
He's taking, no, he's keeping the nature. This is the mistake you're making.
So what did he empty himself of
You
then?
keep saying that the nature changed. The nature stayed exactly the same. God took flesh to himself.
Well,
yeah?
which means
And
he
in
added a
that-
new nature.
So when
He added a new nature, right?
No, the nature is the same. This
No,
is the new nature for the flesh.
Remember,
so when God,
I don't know why you separate the.
When
You know, this.
God-
By the way, this is a heresy. When you separate the 2 natures of God in Christianity, he cannot do that, which he's been doing all along. As
No.
soon as you separate the 2 natures
I've said all along they're in hypostatic union.
in the
I've
same
been
person,
very
right?
Clear.
So in the same person who's called Jesus,
Yes.
or the second person of the
Yes.
Trinity,
Hypostat-
post-incarnation,
Yes.
this hypostatic union is how many natures?
The hypostatic union is the 2 natures, the perfect
Thank
man,
you.
the perfect
Are those
God.
both natures in the same person?
Yes, the person's in hypostatic union.
Very good. This person, who is the same person of the second person of the Trinity, is now post-incarnation having 2 natures, which you cannot separate, by the way.
Yeah.
You do realize it.
So yeah.
Good. Now, pre-incarnation, he had only 1 nature, the same person. The same person, the
had
second person of the
one
Trinity.
nature which still exists.
Very good.
Which
Yes.
still exists.
I didn't say it didn't exist. That's
Yeah.
why I said divine and human.
Yeah.
I never said. Why do you keep strawmanning me?
Well,
I
I'm
never
not
at any point.
strawmanning it.
You are, because you keep getting
Because what you're saying
getting
is-
confused
is-
between
is-
1 and 2. Just like they get confused between 1 plus 1 plus 1 is always 3, never 1. Okay, anyway, I asked you, what did Jesus empty himself of in Philippians 2?
Of the divine nature in the flesh.
Where did he empty it? Where did he empty it from?
From any potential in the flesh.
Where did he empty from? You know, like if I say I empty the bottle, I'm emptying it from the bottle. So where did Jesus empty it from?
From the flesh. So that the
flesh wasn't there before, so you can't empty from the flesh.
Grow. The flesh had to grow.
Wait. Let me build a scenario for you. The flesh wasn't there before. Pre-incarnation, there was no flesh.
It was born, it grew.
Hear me out. Pre-incarnation, there was no flesh. Philippians 2 is talking about pre-incarnation or post-incarnation? Philippians 2 is talking about post-incarnation or pre-incarnation.
So it's explained in the incarnation that as God took flesh himself.
Yeah, he becomes lower than the angels.
Lower than the angels.
He becomes a servant.
Yes.
Whose servant does he become?
The servant of all the people that he's come to
Good.
redeem.
So God is a master for me. I don't know about you, but your God is a servant now. Post-incarnation.
God says we must be servants.
I know.
God says,
I know.
I did not come
but I'm not
to
talking about you. I'm talking about your God who became a servant.
Yeah, God.
Do you realize
God
that?
said, I came to serve.
Good. So your God became a servant. He's no more the master.
Yep.
Do you agree?
So that's what Jesus said. Jesus says that he came to serve us.
I know.
Yes.
That's what I'm telling you.
God. That doesn't alter his.
It does, because a master is not equal to a servant.
No.
He said it himself. Jesus said it. The master is not the same as the servant. Very clearly.
Jesus comes to serve us.
I know.
To serve our needs, to serve our purpose.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm saying I'm agreeing with you, but you need to understand the consequence of this. When Jesus becomes a servant and he becomes nothing and he empties himself, yes, he becomes lower than even the angels.
While he's in the flesh, yes.
I know, but you're saying in the flesh is fully God.
Yes, but then on death, that spirit is separated from the flesh. And
why did you fast forward to death? We're still talking about his birth.
Yes.
Why are you separating, fast forwarding to the death?
You're fast forwarding to eternity. You're saying that in heaven that Jesus has changed his nature.
Not in heaven. I'm saying when he incarnated, he changed his nature. I don't know why you don't understand such simple
God's nature is
logic
always the
here.
same.
Okay, once again, you're saying he emptied himself of what? Once again, let's see if you remember that. What did the second person of the Trinity, when it incarnated, what did it empty himself? Yeah, read it from the Bible. Because ESV is a good one. It uses the term emptied. NIV removed this word.
But he emptied himself, taking the form of a servant, being born in the likeness of men.
So emptied himself of what?
Of the divinity in the flesh. So that the flesh had to grow.
How can he empty the divinity from the flesh when the flesh wasn't there?
Because he's in hypostatic union.
No, that wasn't my question. What if he emptied himself from the flesh, then you're implying the flesh was there before incarnation?
No, he emptied himself to bring the flesh into hypostatic union.
No,
in the hypostatic
I didn't ask you
union,
why he emptied himself. I'm asking what did he empty himself of? So if I empty this bottle, I'm emptying the water in there.
Yeah,
so imagine this scenario. If this is the second person of the Trinity, I'm not saying it is, just for analogy. If we use this analogy that he had divinity before, now he emptied it. So the only emptying will happen from the person, not from the flesh, because the flesh was never there.
From the bottle you see,
from
the bottle you use, that's now empty.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the vessel
so
of the flesh.
What is emptied from here? The water, right?
Of the flesh. The vessel of the flesh is not equal at that moment when it's walking the earth with the divinity of God.
No. He said he emptied.
Yeah.
So you need to be full.
If God would bring in.
You need to be full of something, not full, even partial. You need to have something to empty it. So what is it that he had which he emptied? If that makes sense to you, I can't make it any simpler.
Yeah. So I think I've answered that.
No, you haven't. You haven't. You evaded it. You're beating around the bush.
God took flesh to himself.
What did he have that he emptied himself?
That flesh was perfect.
He never had flesh, so you can't use that argument. What did he empty that he had before?
That flesh, he was made for a while lower than the angels.
Exactly. So he lowered his glory.
So lowered his glory. Yeah. And
he lost his glory. Not lowered.
Which is why he says in John, Father, give me the glory that I had with you.
Very good.
Before the
so he emptied his glory. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Good.
So emptied his glory.
What do you call a God who is gloryless?